The great hall of the Zephyrian High Council was quiet except for the soft humming of crystal walls. Elder Vexter stood at the center, his 4 arms moving slowly as he spoke to the younger members. His voice was old and tired, like wind through. "Broken stones, you must never go to the 3rd planet of the yellow star," he said for the 1000th time. "The elders have spoken this truth for 3,000 years. Earth is forbidden." Commander Kelver rolled his 3 eyes and shifted in his chair. He was young for a Zephyrian, only 200 years old, and he had heard this story too many times. His dark blue skin showed the scars of many battles, and his military record was perfect. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Empire. "Elder Vexter," Kelver said, standing up. "With respect, these are old stories, fairy tales to scare children. My ship is the finest in the fleet. My weapons can crack planets in half. What can primitive humans do against such power?" The other young commanders nodded. They had grown up hearing these warnings, but they had also grown up winning every battle. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. No species had ever defeated them in a fair fight. Elder Vexter's old eyes grew sad. He remembered when he was young like Kelver. He remembered thinking the same thoughts. "Commander, you do not understand. The humans are not like other species. They do not fight fair. They do not follow the rules of war. They are dangerous in ways you cannot imagine." "Dangerous?" Kelver laughed. "Elder, they do not even have faster-than-light travel. They are stuck on one small world. How can they be dangerous to us?" The other elders in the hall began to whisper among themselves. Some remembered the old stories better than others. Some had heard their own grandparents speak of the first contact with humans long ago. The stories were always the same: fear, terror, ships that never came home. But the young commanders did not want to listen to old stories. They wanted glory. They wanted new worlds to conquer. And Earth, with its blue oceans and green lands, looked like an easy target not far across space. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez sat in her small laboratory on the research station New Horizon. She was studying readings from her deep space sensors when something strange appeared on her screen. The numbers did not make sense. "Greg, come look at this," she called to her partner, Dr. Greg Murphy. He was working on the other side of the lab, fixing a broken scanner. Greg walked over and looked at Lisa's screen. His face went pale. "That cannot be right. Run the scan again." Lisa ran the scan 3 more times. Each time, the results were the same. Something very large was moving toward Earth. Something much larger than any ship humans had ever built. "We need to call Captain Harrison," Lisa said. Reaching for the communication device, Captain Jake Harrison was having his morning coffee when the call came in. He was the commander of Earth's small defense fleet, 6 ships that were designed more for patrol duty than real fighting. When he heard Lisa's report, he nearly dropped his cup. "How large?" he asked. "Our computers say it is 10 times bigger than our largest ship," Lisa replied. "Maybe more. It will reach Earth in 3 days." Jake closed his eyes and thought. Earth had always known this day might come. They had hoped for peaceful first contact, but they had also prepared for war. The problem was, they had prepared for war against other humans. This was something else entirely. "Alert all ships," Jake ordered his communications officer. "Full battle readiness. And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we may have visitors." Back on the Zephyrian ship Starfall, Commander Kelver was planning his attack. The ship was indeed massive, with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. His crew of 5,000 warriors was the best in the Empire. They had never lost a battle. "Sir," his second-in-command said, "we will reach the human system in 3 days." "What are your orders?" Kelver looked at the star map. Earth was such. A small target, one planet with maybe 10 billion humans. His ship alone could handle that many. We will demand their surrender first. If they refuse, we will show them the power of the Empire. It should be over quickly. The other officers nodded. They had done this many times before. Most species surrendered when they saw the starfall. Those that did not were quickly defeated. Humans would be no different, but Kelver had not listened to the old stories. He did not know that his own people had met humans before. He did not know that the first Zephyrian colony ships had fled from Earth in terror. He did not know that the elders still woke up screaming from nightmares about the species that turned every disadvantage into a weapon dot as the starfall moved through space toward Earth. The young commander felt confident. He would add another world to the Empire. He would prove that the old warnings were just stories. He would show everyone that Commander Kelver was the greatest warrior in Zephyrian history. He had no idea that he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. On Earth, the governments were meeting in emergency session. The news of the approaching alien ship had reached them within hours. Some wanted to hide, some wanted to run, but most wanted to fight. "We cannot let them take our world without a battle," said the Earth Defense Minister. "Even if we lose, we must show them that humans do not give up easily." Captain Harrison agreed. His small fleet was already moving to intercept the alien ship. He knew they were outgunned and outnumbered. He knew they would probably all die. But he also knew something that Commander Kelver did not know. Humans had been fighting impossible battles for their entire history. And sometimes, just sometimes, they won. The meeting between humans and aliens happened in the dark space between Mars and Earth. Captain Jake Harrison's small fleet looked like toys next to the giant Zephyrian ship. The starfall was so big that it blocked out the stars behind it. Jake stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defender. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They all knew they might die today, but none of them showed fear. "Sir, the alien ship is trying to talk to us," said Lieutenant Sue Barnes, his communications officer. "Put them on screen," Jake replied. The main viewer flickered and then showed the bridge of the alien ship. Commander Kelver appeared, his 4 arms spread wide and his 3 eyes glowing with confidence. Behind him, Jake could see dozens of alien warriors, all armed and ready for battle. "I am Commander Kelver of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said. His voice was deep and harsh. "Your species will surrender to our authority. If you resist, we will destroy your world. You have 1 hour to decide." Jake looked at the alien commander for a long moment. He had expected threats, but hearing them still made him angry. No one threatened Earth while he was alive to stop them. "I am Captain Jake Harrison of the Earth Defense Force," he replied calmly. "Thank you for visiting our system. However, humans do not surrender. If you want to talk about trade or friendship, we are happy to discuss it. If you want to fight, you will get one." Commander Kelver blinked all 3 eyes in surprise. In his experience, inferior species either begged for mercy or attacked in blind panic. This human seemed to be treating the situation like a business meeting. "You do not understand?" Kelver said, his voice getting louder. "We have weapons that can destroy your entire fleet in minutes. Your ships are small and weak. You cannot win." Jake smiled. "Size is not everything, Commander. Sometimes the smaller fighter hits harder." On the research station New Horizon, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez and Dr. Greg Murphy were watching the conversation while running scans on the alien ship. What they found was very interesting. "Look at these energy readings," Lisa said, pointing to her screen. "The alien ship is huge, but most of its power goes to keeping it moving. Their weapons are strong, but they are also slow to charge. Greg nodded. And look at this. Their armor is thick, but it has a pattern. See these weak spots where the metal plates connect? A small ship might be able to get through there. Lisa quickly sent this information to Captain Harrison's fleet. Every human ship received the data within minutes. On the Zephyrian ship, Kelver was getting impatient. You have wasted enough time, human. Surrender now or face destruction. I already gave you our answer, Jake replied. Humans do not surrender. Kelver's eyes flashed with anger. Then you will die. He turned to his weapons officer. Fire on the smallest human ship. Show them our power. The Starfall's main cannon charged with a sound like thunder. A beam of pure energy shot out and struck the human ship Denver. The smaller vessel shook and caught fire, but it did not explode. On board the Denver, engineer Tony Kim was fighting to keep his ship alive. Alarms were ringing and smoke filled the corridors. Half his crew was injured and his engines were failing. Captain Harrison, he called over the radio. The Denver is badly damaged. We cannot fight much longer. Can you get your people out? Jake asked. Tony looked around his burning engine room. No time for that, sir, but I have an idea. Give me 2 minutes. Jake watched as the Denver suddenly changed course. Instead of trying to escape, it was heading straight for the alien ship. Tony, what are you doing? Jake called. Something crazy, sir, Tony replied. Tell my wife I love her. Engineer Tony Kim had always been good at fixing things. Now he was going to fix the biggest problem Earth had ever faced. He set his fusion reactor to overload and locked the controls. The Denver was now a guided missile weighing 10,000 tons. Commander, Kelver watched in horror as the burning human ship flew straight at his vessel. Stop that ship, he ordered. The Zephyrian gunners fired everything they had, but the Denver was small and fast. Tony had shut down everything except engines and steering. The ship flew through the enemy fire like a bullet. When the Denver hit the Starfall, the explosion lit up space for 1,000 miles. The human ship was completely destroyed, but it took one of the alien ship's main weapon systems with it. On the Defender, Captain Harrison felt tears in his eyes. Tony Kim had been a good man and a good friend, but his sacrifice had shown the aliens that humans would rather die fighting than live as slaves. All ships, attack pattern Delta, Jake ordered. Make them pay for every inch. The remaining human ships spread out and began their assault. They were still badly outgunned, but now they had a plan. Using the information from Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Murphy, they aimed for the weak spots in the alien armor. Marine Sergeant Amy Collins was on board Jake's ship, watching the battle through the viewport. She had been a soldier for 15 years, and she had never seen anything like this. The human ships moved like dancers, spinning and diving to avoid the enemy weapons while striking back with everything they had. Sir, she said to Captain Harrison, I have an idea. What if we board their ship? Jake looked at her like she was crazy. Amy, that ship has 5,000 warriors on it. Yes, sir, Amy replied. But they are not expecting us to be that stupid. Commander Kelver was beginning to panic. The human ships were small, but they fought like nothing he had ever seen. They used their size to advantage, darting into attack and then flying away before his gunners could target them. Worse, they seemed to learn from every exchange. Each time his ships adapted to their tactics, the humans changed their approach completely. It was like fighting smoke. Sir, his second-in-command said, we have lost 2 weapon systems, and our shields are at 60%. Maybe we should call for reinforcements. Kelver's pride would not let him admit defeat. No, we will crush these insects ourselves. But as the battle continued, he began to understand why the elders had warned against coming here. These humans did not fight like other species. They did not follow the rules. They turned their own weaknesses into weapons. The battle raged for hours. Human ships were destroyed, but each one took pieces of the alien vessel with it. Lieutenant Sue Barnes flew her fighter into an enemy gun turret. Pilot Rick Davis used his damaged ship as a shield to protect his wingmen. One by one, both fleets were being destroyed. But something strange was happening. The humans seemed to get stronger as the battle went on. They fought harder when they were losing. They became more dangerous when they were desperate. Commander Kelver finally understood what the elders had been trying to tell him. Humans were not dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they never gave up Dot as his great ship limped away from Earth. Badly damaged and barely able to fly, Kelver knew he had made a terrible mistake. He had awakened something that should have been left alone. Behind him, the surviving human ships did not chase. They had won, but the cost had been high. Only 2 ships remained from Jake's original fleet of 6. But the humans had learned something important that day. They could fight the aliens and win. The galaxy's greatest empire was not as strong as it pretended to be, and that knowledge would change everything. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled through fear for 1,000 years, and now the fear was cracking. On 100 worlds, enslaved species whispered the same question. If humans could defeat the Empire, what did that mean for everyone else? Admiral Kate Brooks stood in the command center on Earth, looking at reports from around the galaxy. She had been promoted after the battle, replacing the officers who had died fighting Commander Kelver. The job was bigger than anything she had imagined. "Ma'am," said her aide, Lieutenant Dan Cole, "we are getting messages from all over the galaxy. Dozens of species want to talk to us." Kate nodded. She had expected this. Word was spreading that humans had done the impossible. Now, everyone wanted to know how. What kinds of messages? She asked. "Most of them want to ally with us," Dan replied. "The Altarians, the Crystal Folk, the Tree People from Verdant Prime. They all say the same thing. They want to fight the Empire, and they want our help." Kate felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Earth had barely survived one battle with the Zephyrians. Now the entire galaxy was looking to them for leadership. "Set up meetings with their representatives," she decided. "But be careful. We still do not know who we can trust." Meanwhile, on the damaged Zephyrian ship Starfall, Commander Kelver faced a different kind of problem. He had been stripped of his command and was waiting to be executed for his failure. But before he died, he had one last duty to perform. "Send this message to the High Council," he told his former second-in-command. "Tell them everything that happened here. Tell them the humans are not like other species. Tell them we need to make peace before it is too late." The message reached the Zephyrian homeworld within days. Elder Vexther read it with growing horror. Everything he had feared was coming true. The humans were no longer contained to their world. They were reaching out to other species. They were building alliances. "We must negotiate with them immediately," Vexther told the council, "before they learn to travel between stars." But the younger council members disagreed. "One battle does not make them our equals," said Councilors Rector. "We will send a larger fleet. We will show them the true power of the Empire." Vexther shook his head sadly. The young ones still did not understand. It was not about power. It was about something much more dangerous. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez had been studying the wreckage from the battle. What she found in the alien ship's computers changed everything. The files were encrypted, but human scientists had always been good at solving puzzles. "Kate, you need to see this," Lisa said, calling Admiral Brooks to her laboratory. Kate arrived, to find Lisa staring at a computer screen filled with alien text. Most of it was unreadable, but some parts had been translated. "What am I looking at?" Kate asked. "Zephyrian historical records," Lisa replied. "And according to these files, this is not the first time they have met humans." Kate blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" Lisa pointed to the screen. 3,000 years ago, the Zephyrians had colonies near Earth. Something happened that made them abandon those colonies and flee to the other side of the galaxy. The records are incomplete, but there are references to a great terror and the species that should not be awakened. They were afraid of humans 3,000 years ago? Kate asked. "It looks that way," Lisa said. "And now I think I know why." She pulled up another file, this one containing what looked like military reports. "Look at these battle descriptions. The humans they fought back, then used the same tactics. We used against Kelver. Improvised weapons, suicide attacks, turning disadvantages into advantages." Kate read the reports with growing amazement. The ancient humans had fought exactly like modern humans. They had been outnumbered and outgunned, but they had never given up. So the Elders' warnings were not superstition, Kate realized. They were trying to protect their own people from us. "Exactly," Lisa said. "And now we have proven that the warnings were justified." Across the galaxy, the effects of Earth's victory were spreading. On Altair Prime, the blue-skinned Altarians held secret meetings to discuss rebellion. On the crystal world of Zirion, the transparent ethereals began preparing weapons they had hidden for centuries. Captain Lisa Hayes commanded one of Earth's newest ships, the Constitution. It was faster and more advanced than the ships that had fought Kelver, built using technology learned from studying alien wreckage. "Ma'am," her navigator said, "we are receiving a distress call from the Altair system. The Zephyrians are attacking. Civilian targets." Lisa did not hesitate. "Set course for Altair. Maximum speed." "But ma'am," her weapons officer protested, "we do not have permission from Earth Command. And we would be going alone." Lisa smiled grimly. "Sometimes you have to. Do what is right, not what is safe. The Altarians asked for our help. We are going to give it to them." The Constitution's new faster-than-light drive had been designed by Dr. Ben Carter, a physicist who specialized in making impossible things possible. When Lisa pushed the engines to maximum, the ship moved faster than anything the galaxy had. Ever seen Dot, they reached Altair in record time, arriving to find a Zephyrian fleet bombarding the planet's cities. The aliens were not trying to conquer Altair. They were trying to punish it for communicating with Earth. Admiral Quelthara commanded the Zephyrian fleet. He was older and more experienced than Kelver, but he had made the same mistake. He underestimated what humans would do to protect innocent people. "Unknown ship," he broadcast when the Constitution appeared. "Leave this system immediately or be destroyed." Lisa's reply was broadcast on all frequencies, so every ship in both fleets could hear it. "This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the Earthship Constitution. Any ship firing on civilians will be considered hostile. You have 30 seconds to cease fire." Quelthara laughed. One human ship against his entire fleet? It was suicide. Destroy that ship. He ordered. What happened next became legend among the free species of the galaxy. The Constitution did not try to fight the entire fleet at once. Instead, Lisa used her ship's superior speed to engage the Zephyrians one at a time. Engineer Ray Foster, working in the Constitution's engine room, performed miracles to keep the faster-than-light drive stable during combat. This should have been impossible, but Ray had learned something from studying human history. Humans specialized in doing impossible things. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it was over, the Zephyrian fleet was scattered wreckage. The Constitution had taken damage that should have destroyed it 3 times over, but Lisa and her crew had kept fighting by turning every problem into a solution. Captain Hayes landed on Altair Prime, to find thousands of grateful Altarians waiting for her. Their leader, Prime Minister Veltar, spoke for all of them. "Captain Hayes," he said, "today you have shown us what it means to be free. The Altarian people pledge themselves to the human cause. Together, we will liberate the galaxy." When news of the Battle of Altair reached Earth, Admiral Brooks realized that everything had changed. Humans were no longer defending just their own world. They were becoming the leaders of a galactic revolution. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Elder, Vexther spoke the words he had hoped never to say. The humans are no longer contained. They have allies. They have faster-than-light travel. The Elders said to avoid Earth at all costs. But it is too late. The humans are coming. The galaxy would never be the same again. The rebellion grew faster than anyone had expected. Within 6 months of the Battle of Altair, 47 different species had joined what they called the Freedom Alliance. Each one brought something valuable to the fight. The Altarians had industrial capacity, the crystal folk had advanced computers, and the tree people had weapons that could grow themselves. Admiral Kate Brooks found herself leading not just Earth's forces, but a coalition fleet of over 300 ships. She stood in the command center of the new space station Liberty, built in orbit around Earth by volunteers from a dozen worlds. "Admiral," said Commander Jim Parker, her new aide, "the Zephyrian Empire is mobilizing their entire fleet. Our spies report they are gathering at the Nexus system." Kate studied the star map. The Nexus was the center of Zephyrian space, heavily fortified and protected by their most powerful weapons. If the Empire was gathering there, it meant they were preparing for a final battle. "How many ships?" she asked. "Over 2,000, Jim replied. "The largest fleet in galactic history." Kate felt the weight of command. The Freedom Alliance had grown strong, but they still faced an empire that had ruled for a millennium. 2,000 ships was more than twice what the Alliance could field. "Send a message to all our allies," she decided. "Tell them it is time to show the galaxy what freedom looks like." On the Zephyrian homeworld, the situation was desperate. Emperor Thrakmal, ruler of the Empire for 3 centuries, paced in now his throne room. Reports came in daily of worlds declaring independence. The humans had started something that was spreading like wildfire. "How many systems have we lost this week?" he demanded. 17, Your Majesty," replied General Keshlar, the Empire's military commander. "The humans appear everywhere. They strike fast, free the local population, and disappear before we can respond." The Emperor's 4 eyes glowed red with anger. "One small planet is destroying an empire that has lasted 1,000 years. How is this possible?" General Keshlar had been studying human tactics for months. What he had learned worried him. "Your Majesty, the humans do not fight like other species. They do not seek to conquer. They seek to inspire. Every battle they win creates 10 new rebels. Then we will crush them all at once," the Emperor declared. "Gather every ship, every warrior, every weapon. We will end this at the Nexus system." Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Hayes was leading a small fleet on a mission deep in Zephyrian space. Her target was a prison world called Torment, where the Empire kept political prisoners. The planet was heavily guarded, but Lisa had learned that sometimes the best strategy was the most direct one. "All ships, this is Lisa," she broadcast to her fleet. "Remember, we are not here to fight the guards. We are here to free the prisoners. Get in, get them out, get home." The Constitution led 12 other ships in a surprise attack on Torment. The planet's defenses were strong, but they were designed to keep prisoners in, not to fight a space battle. Lisa's fleet struck the orbital platforms, while transports landed on the surface. Colonel Mike Stevens led the ground assault. He was a Marine who had volunteered for the most dangerous missions, and freeing prisoners was exactly the kind of job he loved. His troops moved fast, breaking open cell blocks and loading prisoners onto shuttles. "Captain Hayes," he radioed, "you need to see this. Some of these prisoners have been here for decades, and they are not all from rebel worlds." Lisa's blood ran cold when she saw the records. The Empire had been kidnapping people from primitive worlds, using them for slave labor and experiments. Children who had been taken from their families years ago. Scientists who had been imprisoned for asking the wrong questions. "Get them all," she ordered. "Every single one." The evacuation took 4 hours. When it was done, Lisa's fleet had rescued over 10,000 prisoners. But more importantly, they had discovered something that would shake the galaxy. Dr. Sarah Kim, a xenobiologist who had been imprisoned for refusing to develop biological weapons, brought Lisa evidence that the Empire had been planning something terrible. "Captain, they were going to release a plague that would kill any species that opposed them. Billions would have died." Lisa felt sick. The Empire was not just cruel. It was planning genocide on a galactic scale. "Get this information to Admiral Brooks immediately," she ordered. "The galaxy needs to know what we are really fighting." When the news reached Earth, Admiral Brooks called an emergency meeting of all Alliance leaders. Representatives from 50 worlds gathered in the Liberty Station's council chamber. The evidence from Torment was presented to everyone. Prime Minister Veltar of Altair spoke for many when he said, "This changes everything. We are not just fighting for freedom. We are fighting for the survival of every non-Zephyrian species in the galaxy." The Crystal Folk leader, a being called Harmony of Light, agreed. The Empire must be stopped. But their fleet at Nexus is too strong for a direct assault. Admiral Brooks looked around the room at the faces of 50 different species, all united by a common threat. "Then we do not attack directly. We do what humans do best. We improvise." The plan that emerged from that meeting was ambitious beyond belief. Instead of fighting the Zephyrian fleet ship to ship, the Alliance would attack the Empire's ability to support that fleet. Strike teams would hit supply depots, communication relays, and fuel refineries simultaneously across 100 systems. Captain Dan Roberts led one such team to the industrial world of Forge Prime. His mission was to destroy the factories that built Zephyrian weapons. The planet was defended by automated systems, which should have made it impossible to attack. But Dan had been studying the ancient human military leader Sun Tzu, who had written that all warfare was based on deception. Instead of attacking the defenses, Dan's team disguised themselves as a supply convoy. "Remember," he told his crew as they approached the planet, "confidence is the key. Act like you belong here, and they will assume you do." The plan worked perfectly. Dan's ships landed at the main industrial complex without being challenged. By the time the Zephyrians realized what was happening, the weapons factories were already exploding. Similar attacks happened across the galaxy. The Empire's supply lines were cut. Their communication networks went dark. Their fuel depots were destroyed. Within a week, the Great Fleet at Nexus was running low on everything they needed to fight. Emperor Thrakmal received the reports with growing panic. How can they be everywhere at once? He demanded. "They are not, Your Majesty," General Keshlar replied, "but they have taught others to fight like them. Every species in the Alliance is using human tactics now." The Emperor realized with horror that the humans had done something no conqueror in galactic history had ever managed. They had not just built an army. They had created a philosophy. The idea that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the odds. "Launch the fleet," he ordered desperately. "Attack Earth directly. End this war at its source." But when the Zephyrian fleet left Nexus, they found something waiting for them. The Freedom Alliance had not fled. Instead, they had positioned themselves between the Empire and Earth. 300 ships against 2,000, but the smaller fleet showed no sign of backing down. Admiral Brooks broadcast a message that was heard across the galaxy. People of all worlds, this is Admiral Kate Brooks of the Freedom Alliance. Today, we make our stand. Not just for Earth, not just for our allies, but for the idea that all beings have the right to be free. The Empire ends here. The final battle was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The final battle began at dawn, Earth time. The Zephyrian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel, like a dark cloud, 2,000 ships strong. Their formation was perfect, their weapons charged, their shields at maximum power. Emperor Thrakmol had come personally to witness the destruction of the rebellion. Admiral Kate Brooks stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Liberty's Hope, watching the enemy fleet approach. Her 300 ships looked tiny against the massive Imperial armada, but she felt no fear. Around her, the crews of 50 different species worked together as one. All ships, this is Admiral Brooks, she broadcast. Today, we finish what we started. For freedom, for justice, for the future of the galaxy. Make them remember this day? The battle began with the traditional challenge. Emperor Thrakmol himself appeared on screen, his royal robes glittering with precious metals. His voice carried the authority of 1,000 years of rule. Surrender now, and I will grant you quick deaths, he declared. Continue this foolishness, and I will make your worlds burn for 1,000 generations. Kate's response was simple and direct. The age of empires is over. The age of freedom has begun. What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. The Alliance fleet did not form traditional battle lines. Instead, they scattered into small groups, each one targeting a specific part of the Imperial formation. It looked like chaos, but it was actually the most coordinated attack ever attempted. Captain Lisa Hayes led the first wave, her Constitution diving straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Behind her came 12 of Earth's fastest ships, their mission to disrupt the Imperial command structure. Target their communication arrays, Lisa ordered. Make it impossible for them to coordinate. The human ships moved like bullets, too fast for the heavy Imperial cruisers to track. Within minutes, the Zephyrian fleet was blind and deaf, unable to communicate between ships, but the Empire had numbers on their side. For every Alliance ship, there were almost 7 Imperial vessels. The mathematics of the battle seemed impossible to overcome. That was when the second part of Kate's plan revealed itself. The attacks on supply depots had not just been about weakening the Imperial fleet. They had also been about gathering intelligence. The Alliance knew exactly which ships were low on fuel, which ones had damaged weapons, and which crews were demoralized. Colonel Mike Stevens commanded a boarding party that struck the Imperial flagship itself. His Marines used captured Zephyrian shuttles to approach undetected, then cut their way through the hull with plasma torches. Remember, Mike told his troops, "We are not here to destroy the ship. We are here to capture the Emperor." The fighting inside the Imperial flagship was fierce. Zephyrian warriors were strong and well-armed, but they had never faced humans in close combat before. The Marines moved with deadly precision, using their smaller size and superior training to outmaneuver the aliens. Meanwhile, Engineer Ray Foster was leading another team on a different mission. They had identified the Imperial fleet's main computer network, and Ray had developed a virus that would turn their own systems against them. "Just give me 10 minutes, Ray said as his team fought their way to the enemy computer core. 10 minutes and I can turn their entire fleet into scrap metal." The virus worked better than anyone had hoped. Ray's program spread through the Imperial network like wildfire, causing weapons to misfire and engines to shut down. Within an hour, half the Zephyrian fleet was drifting helplessly in space. But the real turning point came when Emperor Thrakmol was captured. Colonel Stevens and his Marines had fought their way to the Imperial throne room. where they found the Emperor surrounded by his personal guards. "You cannot win," the Emperor declared, even as plasma bolts flew around him. "The Empire is eternal. Kill me, and 10 more will take my place." Mike Stevens looked at the alien ruler with something like pity. "Your Majesty, you still do not understand. We are not here to replace your empire with our own. We are here to end the age of empires. Forever." The capture of the Emperor sent shockwaves through the Imperial fleet. Without their leader, without communications, and with their own computers turned against them, the Great Armada began to fall apart. Ships surrendered by the dozens. Others simply fled into deep space. Admiral Brooks watched the battle end from her command center. In 6 hours, the Freedom Alliance had done what seemed impossible. They had defeated the greatest military force in galactic history. But Kate knew the real work was just beginning. Destroying the Empire was only the first step. Building something better would take much longer. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered, "both ours and theirs." Her message was broadcast across the battlefield, reaching every surviving vessel. "People of the galaxy, the Zephyrian Empire is finished. But we do not seek to replace one tyranny with another. The Freedom Alliance offers a different choice. A galaxy where every species governs itself, where differences are celebrated, not crushed." The response was immediate. Zephyrian ships that had been enemies minutes before began broadcasting their surrender. Their crews, freed from the fear of their emperor, chose freedom over slavery. On the Zephyrian home world, Elder Vexter watched the battle reports with mixed emotions. The empire that had ruled his people for centuries was gone, but perhaps that was for the best. He remembered the old stories, the warnings about humans that no one had heeded. The elders said to avoid Earth at all costs, he whispered to himself. But it was too late. The humans came anyway, and they brought something we had forgotten. They brought hope. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, now the Alliance's chief scientist, was already working on the next challenge. With the war over, millions of species would need to learn to live together as equals. It would not be easy, but she had faith in the human ability to solve impossible problems. "The key is education," she told Admiral Brooks. "We need to teach everyone that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. It will take generations, but it can be done." Captain Dan Roberts was leading the cleanup efforts, helping to establish new governments on former imperial worlds. Each planet was different, with its own needs and traditions, but they all shared one thing in common. They were free. "You know what amazes me?" he said to his crew as they helped establish a council on the mining world of Pharaoh. 6 months ago, these people thought freedom was impossible. Now they are writing their own constitution. The crystal. Folk were already designing new communication networks that would connect the entire galaxy. The tree people were sharing their knowledge of sustainable agriculture. The Altarians were building schools to teach the art of democracy. And humans? Humans were doing what they had always done best. They were helping others achieve the impossible. Captain Lisa Hayes was exploring the Outer Rim, making contact with species that had hidden from the Empire for centuries. Each new contact brought fresh perspectives and new solutions to old problems. "The galaxy is so much bigger than we imagined," she reported to Earth. "There are thousands of species out here, each one with something unique to contribute. The Empire kept them separated, but now they can work together." 1 year after the final battle, representatives from over 300 species gathered on the neutral world of Haven for the first Galactic Congress. The meeting was chaotic, with beings who could barely communicate trying to establish common laws and principles. But slowly, patiently, they worked it out. The humans provided the framework, based on their own hard-won understanding of democracy and freedom. Other species contributed their own wisdom about justice, trade, and cooperation. Admiral Kate Brooks Now the first president of the Galactic Federation stood before the assembled delegates. Her words were simple but powerful. "We are not here to create a new empire," she said. "We are here to ensure that no empire can ever rise again. We are here to prove that different species can work together as equals. We are here to build a future where freedom is not a privilege, but a right." The applause lasted for 10 minutes, with beings from 300 worlds showing their approval in 300 different ways. On Earth, Elder Vexter had come as an honored guest. He was old now, older than any Zephyrian in recorded history. But he had lived to see the dawn of a new age. "I was wrong to fear humans," he told a gathering of Earth's leaders. "I thought they were dangerous because they could destroy empires. I did not realize they were dangerous because they could build something better." Dr. Ben Carter, the physicist who had developed faster-than-light travel, was already working on new projects. Exploration ships were being built to venture beyond the galaxy itself. The universe was vast, and there were surely other species out there who needed to learn about freedom. "The work is never finished," he said to his research team. "There are always new horizons to explore, new people to help, new problems to solve. That is what makes us human." The former Emperor Thrakmo lived quietly on a small farm on Earth, tending to vegetables and writing his memoirs. He had been offered exile to any world he chose, but he had asked to stay near the people who had defeated him. "I want to understand," he had told Admiral Brooks. "I want to learn what I missed all those years." The children of a dozen species played together in the streets of New Geneva, Earth's capital. They spoke a dozen languages, had a dozen